journalists are dumb as a box of rocks. And the Trump administration, should they have actually included him, did it intentionally so that he would report their words behind the scenes, which I got to be honest, makes him look kind of good. J.D. Vance saying, we can't bomb Yemen. This goes against Trump's message. And then Hegseth says, but we're the only ones in the world who can put a stop to this.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
In a matter of 24 hours, we have the biggest scandal, aka maybe the biggest trap ever set by President Trump. Or is this just all a huge mess up? Well, Babylon B thinks this is hilarious, and so do I. They say 4D chess. Genius Trump leaks war plan to The Atlantic, where no one will ever see them. No one will ever see these Trump leaks of war plans because The Atlantic is, again, according to Trump, the worst of the worst.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
If you really believe for 1 second that Marco Rubio, Mike Walls, J.D. Vance, and Pete Hegseth just accidentally let a journalist from The Atlantic into their group chat on Signal discussing war plans, then there's a word for you. That word starts with an R and ends with E-T-A-R-D, retard. Because there is no world, I do Signal chats, I do Telegram chats, I do group chats all the time. You don't randomly add Atlantic journalists and then continue the conversation.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning, overwhelmingly.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that was Pete Hegseth, again, clarifying that these were not war messages or war leaks, but it was The Atlantic, again, who was responsible for many fake articles before, making a huge deal out of nothing. Now, the White House did confirm that these messages were real. So what's the real story here and what's actually going on? I'm pretty sure stuff behind the scenes could be either good, really good, because the plan worked, or it could be very bad, and Pete Hegseth could be on his way out. But something tells me something else is happening here, and I want you to listen to this explanation by the Timcast, because it does explain to me what a lot of people are thinking when it comes to this story that the mainstream media right now is not letting go, and I don't think they're going to let the story go anytime soon. Take a listen to this.
Accidentally created a group chat to discuss bombing Yemen and included a liberal Russia journalist. Then there's the other story, and that's they intentionally created the group chat with a script that took 2 days to write, and they wanted him to espouse their narrative to the world. Look, I don't know exactly, but I think there's a strong possibility that these journalists are dumb as a box of rocks. Should they have actually included him, did it intentionally so that he would report their words behind the scenes, which I got to be honest, makes him look kind of good. J.D. Vance saying, we can't bomb Yemen. This goes against Trump's message. And then Hegseth says, but we're the only ones in the world who can put a stop to this. And then there's J.D. Vance saying, I get it, you're right, but I really want to keep bailing out Europe. U.S. trade doesn't even go through here. It really sounds like a PR message distilled through a moron who thinks he got leaked information. So the American people think they're getting a genuine behind-the-scenes look at the difficult decision to bomb Yemen. Let's be real. When they decided to have a conversation about bombing Yemen, they didn't do it over Signal. They met at the Pentagon. They're all in D.C. as it is. What a ridiculous story. But maybe I'm crazy and everybody else is crazy.
The mainstream media doing exactly what they want to do here, because this next video that I'm going to show you is exactly that. Pete Buttigieg, who has been rumored to be running in 2028, he wants to be obviously a president one day, which a lot of people don't think that that's even going to be possible. Here he is taking the opportunity to tell the world what should happen to Pete Hegseth. Again, was this all the plan to make Democrats freak out? Or was this a disaster by the Trump administration and people should be held accountable? Well, apparently, according to Pete Buttigieg, people should be held accountable. They should even face jail time. Take a listen.
Keep me safe.
Do you think someone should be fired over this?
Absolutely. I mean, if I made a mistake like this as a lieutenant, I would be probably not just fired, but probably indicted and tried and maybe in prison. And the idea that, you remember, these guys love talking about merit, right? We hear a lot about this alleged principle that they're hiring people on merit. I think, there's some questions there. I mean, our current Secretary of Defense hadn't shown a lot of evidence of, running a large organization, or let alone running a large organization well. And he got put in charge of the largest organization in the United States of America and the most important organization in the world, which is the U.S. Department of Defense. And if there's not accountability for a screw up like this, especially from a president who used to fire people every day on television for sport, what are we even doing here?
Pete Buttigieg, thank you for joining.